Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for another channel update and random topic video. Can't believe it is April already. Over a quarter of the year 2024 gone. Man, it just seemed like yesterday I was coming home or coming back from vacation to see my family, and it's been a weird winter. Just like the weather, we've had it was mostly almost a snowless winter until like about a week ago, where we had literally our first like winter storm. And then by this weekend, it's supposed to be, well, I think it's actually in the 50s today. So a lot of it actually should be melting. When I was out yesterday, there was already a lot of snow gone and everything. So it's been a weird year so far. Not just weather wise, but with tech and games and all that stuff. But before we get into all the topics, because there's definitely a few things that I do want to chat a little bit about this time, I do just want to kind of give my usual channel spiel again for any of the new viewers out there. Um, Welcome to Illegally Cited. I hope you find something interesting here. I do upload or I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Sometimes I do unlock videos on other days if there's like a special event happening, a very cool announcement, something just that I really, really have to cover, whether that's like assistive technology news, game accessibility announcements, like I said, events, holidays, you never know. But typically Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays, and everything is divided into playlists, so you should be able to find something interesting that you might be looking for. So I have, things from like I'm legally blind or illegally sighted. That's where the name came from. And so I have low vision spotlights. Those are game videos where I play like a mainstream game with the vision that I do have and see how accessible it is as a low vision player. Accessible game spotlights are ones that I would consider to be playable by totally blind individuals. So whether that's screen reader accessible, self-voicing, audio games, whatever it happens to be. I haven't covered this in a while, but I do have some VR, virtual reality content, VR accessibility, VR games, experiences, apps. Check those out. Um, Hardware reviews, assistive technology. Um, what else? Growing up illegally sighted. I still want to draw people's attention to that because that was something I did early last year, and I'm proud of how that turned out. And I think it could, if you have any questions, that playlist is really good for if you want to, a lot of times I get asked questions like, how did I get into being an assistive technology specialist? How did I get into YouTube? How did I, you know, get into whatever? Or just a lot of common questions like, what software do I use? Or how do I do my YouTube channel or streaming, that kind of a thing. But then I also just talk about some of my past, growing up illegally sighted, as the playlist says, grade school, high school, college, looking for employment, just things, recommendations that may help people get through all those stages at life because, I've been there, done that, got the scars, whatever. But here we are. So, check that out. Growing Up Illegally Cited, that playlist. My podcast interviews and presentations playlist. I've done a lot of like public speaking and podcasts and interviews and stuff. I've had a lot of fun playing with that. Um, I don't mention this often enough actually because I kind of forget about it half the time. But you can also go to just illegallycited.com. It is a very, very basic, kind of embarrassingly so, website, but that is where, of course, the YouTube channel link is listed here. All my social media stuff is listed there. But I have different things. Like I experimented with kind of a blog thing a few years ago. I haven't really done much of that lately. But it does have like my projects page where in addition to the YouTube channel, it'll have links to some other stuff that I've done. So other people's podcasts, other people's videos, or things that I've helped out with, or something that I'm able to share. So yeah, I'll mention that here. Um, but yeah, I mean things are crazy, but they're busy. But the channel has been going strong. I've had several videos, couple iOS accessible games we've got here. Some recent stuff. We've got a couple PC accessible games. Um, As Dusk Falls has gotten a accessibility update that adds audio description amongst other things. Bears in Space is a fun little, fun and funny low vision first person shooter. Another one of those great digital eclipse games. Llamasoft, the Jeff Mentor story. I finally got around to covering Wrath Aeon of Ruin earlier this week. I've been meaning to do that for like the last month. And there's still lots of stuff to come. My backlog is just crazy as it is. And then there's rumor of a PlayStation State of Play sometime in May. You, of course, have Summer Game Fest in June, WWDC in June. Microsoft might be having an event in May, like a consumer, more of a consumer-related event where they'll do like Surface tablets and things and whatever. So all the I think usually Google has something. Google I/O isn't that in like May or June? I forget when that usually is, but like, there's a lot of things going to be coming up. And of course, I have to mention the Game Accessibility Conference, the European edition, and that is just coming up in about 2 weeks. Was it the 22nd, 23rd? Like it's a Monday and a Tuesday. Now, for us North American folk, the timing is going to be a little rough because if you want to attend it live and join the Discord and everything, yeah, you're going to have to get up pretty early. But my sleeping schedule the last few months has been so messed up and out of whack. Hell, I'm typically up at 3 o'clock in the morning, whether I haven't gone to bed yet, but more than likely I have gone to bed fairly early, but then I wake up at 2, 3 in the morning, and then I'm up for a couple hours, and so who knows? But I will be there. The Game Accessibility Conference is one of my favorite times every year, and we've got two of them now. We got the North American version in the fall. We've got the European version in the spring. So I'm always very curious to, do the networking with people and listen to all the sessions from players, developers, and everybody in between. Like I said, if you have any interest, you want to get into tech accessibility, assistive technology, if you're into game accessibility, whether it's consulting or just learning more about it, I mean, that is the conference to go to, the Game Accessibility Conference, GAConf, gaconf.org. Um, Go check that out. And I do want to also, on a related note, because she's one of the co-founders of the Game Accessibility Conference, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Tara Velker. I just learned yesterday via Twitter that she is no longer working at Microsoft. She is moving on to not sure exactly what yet, but huge shout out to her. I got to meet her in person during the 2019 Game Accessibility Conference when I went down there in person, and she was just a blast to hang out with. I've been in some of her streams. I've worked with her on just, a couple of Microsoft projects over the last few years. We were going to do some stuff with Mixer until Microsoft just decided to go and blindside all of us, including her, that, oh, by the way, Mixer's not a thing anymore. But yeah, I mean, Tara's been awesome. She's just a great host for the Game Accessibility Conference. Just done lots of great stuff with accessibility. game accessibility in general. And so I just definitely want to give a huge thank you and a huge shout out to her and Ian Hamilton, because of course these two are just amazing. And I'm very curious to see what you have planned next. If it's something that where we can work together again, hey, reach out, and I will be glad to work with you again. Um, so yeah, I mean that's some of the channel stuff. Like I said, I will be covering the summer stuff in some form. I'm sure I'll do another video after the Game Accessibility Conference, chat a little bit about that, my thoughts on that session. If we have any other surprise gaming announcements or tech announcements, whatever. We have the Summer Game Fest. We have all the, like I said, WWDC, all of that stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to be really streaming it again. I don't know, you guys. I'm toying with the idea. Like, part of me sort of wants to do streaming every once in a while. But at the same time, I've kind of found things a little more, I don't want to say relaxing, but just less chaotic, less cluttered schedule. You know, not streaming these days. I mean, granted, I usually only did it Friday or Saturday, so it really wasn't a huge time commitment. But as I said before, you know, sometimes you just want to, if you do play something, you know, you just want to play something for yourself and not be recording or not be streaming, not having to kind of perform for other people. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that I'm retired. I did have somebody ask me recently in one of the comments, and I appreciate that. You know, I mean, the fact that people are interested in what, you know, if I do come back, I appreciate that. But I don't know. As of now, I don't have really any immediate plans to really come back, at least on a regular basis. You know, maybe around the summer events or something, or if a game is really, really doing something for me, maybe I'll do something. But I wouldn't hold my breath. But, you know, definitely follow me, twitch.tv/illegally cited, because you never know. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on in my world. You know, day job is busy. Got a kind of an event for that work coming up next Friday, so doing some prep for that and the usual stuff. And the channel will keep going per usual. So I already talked about the Game Accessibility Conference. I definitely wanted to plug that because, again, you know, whether you're interested in playing accessible games, learning about accessible games, even sort of, you know, especially people who, you know, kind of maybe misunderstand even as a player, even if you're not necessarily interested in like working in gaming or consulting or something, you know, just people like, well, why can't you make this accessible, or what, you know, and then they get mad. Um, just listening to some of these developers and kind of, you know, talk about like how they kind of had to do it, maybe some of the workarounds, the challenges, and how they had to maybe think outside the box a little bit. And some things that were they thought would be really hard were actually pretty easy, and vice versa. You know, it just gives you kind of a perspective as a player to be like, oh yeah, this isn't just so easy as like, oh, just check the box and screen reader mode will work. It doesn't work that way. And I just find it fascinating learning about the games that I love to play. So yeah, definitely check out the Game Accessibility Conference. You can you can read it if you're in Europe. You can I think there are still some slots open, so you can go in person if you like. But if you're like me and you're really far away and whatnot, you can register for free for a virtual ticket. Where you can stream the conference live, or you can watch the archive of it. But if you're watching it live, you can join the Discord and participate with all the other virtual viewers and network, and it's a lot of fun actually. Like I said, I really look forward to it every year. So, Game Accessibility Conference, looking forward to that. Can't believe that's only a couple weeks away. So the one topic that I really wanted to chat a little bit about, I actually tried recording a video for this, yesterday as I'm recording this, and I felt I babbled way too long about it, and I just kind of wanted to do a little bit excuse me, I wanted to do a little bit of an abbreviated version of that. So the hot button topic in blindness accessibility lately, if you haven't heard, of course, is Voice Dream Reader. And if you have followed me for any length of time, followed the channel for any length of time, I've covered this app at least 2 or 3 different times on the channel as they've made major updates and improvements to it. I remember covering it originally, and then I remember covering like when they did the rewrite. I think it was like around 4.0 or 5.0 or something like that. And then I did an update when they added Voice Dream Scanner, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So for those who haven't heard of it, for whatever reason, Voice Dream Reader is a powerful reading app, and it's for iOS. There is they kind of branched it off for Android, and they have a different developer working on the Android version, and it's called Ledger, Legere, Ledger Reader on Android. So they're not exactly the same, but they're very similar in functionality. I would probably say the Android version maybe is a little bit behind in features and development as the iOS version, but they're very comparable. But Voice Dream Reader is a reading app that, like I said, it's very powerful. If you're a North American or a US Bookshare member, it works very well with Bookshare books. You can search the catalog, look at your categories, your wish lists, all that stuff is all integrated in there. You sign in, boom, you're good to go. But in addition to Bookshare books, it's just a really nice centralized way to read everything. I mean, you can read PDF files, Word documents, PowerPoints, EPUBs, text documents. What else? I mean, just loads of different text type documents. You can listen to audio files. So, I used to listen to podcasts with it before Apple fixed their weird audio compression issue for a lot of their apps several versions ago, because if you sped up audio like in a podcast or an audiobook, a lot of the apps would kind of have this tinny garbage sounding effect to it. I can't even really describe it other than, like I said, tinny and compressed sounding. It was bad. But they fixed that ages ago, and so now I use a regular podcast app. I tend to use Overcast, but I've listened to podcasts. I've listened, like if you have a audio CD book or something that you've ripped into MP3s or something, you can zip that up, pop it into Voice Dream Reader and read it. You can pull in things from like Dropbox, Google Drive, iCloud, the web. I mean, literally, the last couple years now, or a year, when Safari will let you download things, like you can pull in things from the Files app and then share them to Voice Dream. I've gotten a lot of my digital magazines that way, like my E1M1 and my Reload magazine. I've gotten my few like books from Humble Bundle or Story Bundle, and I can read them right in there, get like PDF or EPUB. And then, of course, the scanner feature that I mentioned a minute ago, where you can use it to take a picture of a print document, save it right into Voice Dream. You get a handout in class or in a meeting, snap a picture, read it aloud, boom, you're good to go. You can also share PDF files. Those stupid image-based, the image PDF files where you try to read it with VoiceOver or something and it just doesn't read anything. It's like, oh, there's nothing there. You share it into Voice Dream. It asks you if you want to perform OCR on it. Make it readable. I can't tell you how many times that feature alone has saved my bacon. And then you've got, the iCloud Drive support. So, or the iCloud Sync. So, I get a new phone or iPad. I just download Voice Dream, turn on iCloud, and then everything, my hundreds of books and folders and everything, just boom, gets synchronized to the new device, and we're good to go. I mean, the original developer, Winston Chen, the app came out in 2012-ish, and I paid for it back then, and so that is a brief overview of Voice Dream. So now let me tell you a little bit about the whole hubbub going on, and I'm going to try to be a little bit more brief than I was in the earlier attempt video. So the whole thing was when you bought the app originally, you paid, whatever it was, 5, 10, 15 bucks. The price has changed a little bit over the years as he's added functionality and features, which is perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable. Um, but yeah, you bought it once, you got kind of a lifetime use out of it. You get a new device, you just download it again. As long as you're signed in with your Apple ID, you're good to go. Well, last year, Winston sold the company or sold the VoiceStream app to another company to continue development. And that company is Applause Group, which I guess they work with other app developers. So they're not just doing VoiceStream. They do a lot of other apps apparently. Not sure. I'd have to look in the App Store or whatever just to see what other apps they might develop. But so they bought up VoiceStream last, what was it, summer, fall. And at that time, they looked at the whole pricing thing and went, okay, here's the thing. For new users, we got to keep some income coming in to continue development for the app. And I totally understand that. Again, if you get a whole bunch of people buying your app 8, 10 years ago, and they've never had to buy anything else again, and you want to keep supporting yourself to make money, I get it. You eventually got to find a way to get more users or get some additional income. So I totally get that. So what they did is they said, okay, if you are an existing user, you continue to enjoy the app as usual. You don't have to pay again. But when they switched over, they said, okay, if you're a new user, then you have to pay a yearly subscription because we're going to a yearly subscription model. That's acceptable. And, you're a new user. They need to do a funding model to keep the app going. I get it. Well, about a week ago, give or take, heard some recent announcements to where they said, well, yeah, that thing that we said earlier on a few months ago, we're going to switch everybody as of May 1st. We're going to switch everybody to a subscription model. So even if we are existing users, they are switching to a subscription model. So the way it's happening now is, if you're a new user, you can do a monthly or yearly subscription. If you are an existing user, what happens is any content that you already have in your app, any documents, books, whatever, audio, etc., even after May 1st, you can read those infinitely. You can continue reading, listening to those, as much as you want. But if you try to add any new documents, you're going to have to switch to the new subscription model. Now, per the description earlier, the way they worded it, the way Winston and even like when they switched over to Applause Group, they were saying lifetime subscription. So the expectation was I bought it, I own it, I can use it until it just doesn't exist anymore or until I'm gone. And I would say, to flat out take back, like, oh, let's say I'm a student or something and I'm reading books and things, and then all of a sudden, well, I can read the stuff I have, but oh, I have a new class this semester and I need to read a new book. Well, now I got to subscribe. What I think they probably should do is to say, okay, we're going to do sort of a hard cutoff for features and functionality. Rather than say if you want to add new content that is currently supported, you shouldn't have to pay necessarily. But if you want new features going forward, like one of the things that they had said, as part of keeping this app, not only supporting the app going forward, fixing bugs, they're going to be adding new features. And we haven't heard specifics about how it's going to be implemented, but I'm very, very curious they're saying that they're actually pretty close to getting Kindle integration working. And to me, that sounds really interesting. So what I think they should maybe do is to say not so much if you want to add new content, but if you want to take advantage of new features after May 1st, then you can switch to the subscription model. But if you just want to download more Bookshare books or add a PDF file or a Word document, that functionality exists in the app right now. And I think, maybe you could, keep that going, and maybe that would stop some of the discourse, shall we say, in the blindness community about this whole thing. But like I said, from the developer side, I get it. Even I think if Winston was still running the thing, eventually, like I said, he's got all these users, but if they only pay once, and then he just has to keep developing the app and trying to support himself somehow, he's eventually going to have to find a way to make money so he can, take care of his family. And so he can continue being able to develop the Voice Dream Reader and other apps. So, do I necessarily like more subscriptions? No, because we're bombarded by them these days. We have, like cloud services like iCloud or Google Drive or whatever. We can get more storage space. We've got, some people do Microsoft Office. I do because even outside of work, my day job, I do things for my consulting work and other projects, XR Access and such, where, yeah, I do kind of want to have access to Office, so I pay that subscription. You've got all your media stuff. You have, your YouTube and maybe YouTube Music or Apple Music, Spotify, Hulu, Netflix, whatever. You got all these things. You got your regular bills. I get it. There's everything is going subscription, and it kind of sucks. And then on top of that, you have everybody. The cool thing to do on the internet now is everybody's asking for money. Support my Patreon, whether that's a website, a podcast, a video. Even YouTubers are do my Patreon. People are doing GoFundMe's, and just everybody's asking everybody else for money these days. I feel like I'm not doing the internet right myself because I haven't charged or I haven't put anything behind a paywall or ad wall on my channel or anything like that. So I'm doing this just for free because I like it, and maybe would I like to earn some money? Sure, but that's a whole other topic. But, the point is, people are bombarding you for money. I get it. And so people don't want another subscription, especially existing users. They thought they already paid for the app. So I kind of get where they're coming from. But like I said, I think rather than saying if you add new content, you have to switch to the new subscription model. I think if they said you can continue adding the supported files that we support now. So if you want to add a Word document, a Bookshare book, a text document, a Google Doc, whatever, go for it. But if we add, new features after May 1st, whether that's functionality, then you would have kind of a base. You'd have like a Voice Dream Reader Classic maybe, or a Voice Dream Reader Standard, and then you could have a Voice Dream Reader Pro, and that's where the Pro version, you're paying for additional features after May 1st. So the Kindle thing really intrigues me because, the first thing people will say is, well, the Kindle app is already VoiceOver accessible. Why would I pay for Voice Dream to do that? Fair. I've been reading a few Kindle books in the last week because they're not available through Bard or Audible, and I've been listening to the human narrated version, but they haven't caught up in the narrated books yet. So I want to continue my series, and so I've been reading a couple Kindle books. But the thing with Kindle is you're reading it with VoiceOver, and so you have to have focus on that app. You can't, touch the screen or do anything else in the background. And, if you're on the bus or, doing like walking around or whatever and you bump the phone or something, boom, it stops reading. Whereas if I'm in VoiceStream, yes, I can use VoiceOver to read, but I can also use its voices, and I can, hit play at the bottom of the screen. I can hit play pause, and I can use its voices to listen to the book. I can lock the screen, saving battery life. And then I can put my phone in my pocket, not have to worry about bumping it, and I can listen to it while I'm walking around or cleaning my apartment or traveling or whatever. So there are some advantages to being able to read a Kindle book in VoiceStream versus natively in the Kindle app. The other thing that I could potentially be seeing really helpful is most of your Kindle, like recreational reading, your novel books, are pretty much voiceover accessible these days. But I have found there are still really stupid and annoying publishers that do block, like the app is perfectly capable, but publishers block screen reader support and text to speech support. Like I found a few gaming related books, technology related books, a lot of more like nonfiction, especially if you are in like a high school or college thing and you can get a Kindle textbook. Textbook publishers are horrendous for this. Don't get me started on that, Rent. I could do a whole how long you got. I could rage about that for hours. Um, but if these books are inaccessible, what happens is you buy the book and you open it up, you can read it visually, but you have voiceover on and you get a little pop-up that says text to speech has been disabled by publisher, and you click OK and then you say many bad words. Um, but what's cool is, just like how VoiceStream Scanner can scan a PDF file, what if it has Kindle integration where I can buy this Kindle book that has been made inaccessible by the publisher's stupidity, and I can import it into VoiceStream, and I can just let it OCR the thing, just like it would a PDF file or an image from my camera. And now, because there is also this copyright law that says, hey, for accessibility reasons, we are allowed to break, we are able to kind of what would normally be considered like piracy. We are allowed to kind of hack through an inaccessible document like a Kindle book, um, to make it accessible if the publisher refuses to do so. So just being able to import a Kindle book that doesn't natively work, OCR it, and then being able to read it, hell yeah, sign me up, man. I mean, that would be just like Scanner. That would be another reason where I have no problem paying for VoiceStream. So that is what's going on with VoiceStream Reader. That is the whole like controversy right now. What are my thoughts? Well, I've told you some of them already. I say I totally understand where the developers are coming from. They want to have a continued revenue stream so they can continue developing and updating and supporting the app. Because again, it's not just adding new features. It's, fixing bugs. And there is development for, even if literally, if nothing changed, if nothing feature wise changed, let's say iOS 18 came out and the way that iOS worked with files, or the way it worked with speech, different voices, or I don't know, it starts integrating stuff with AI. Like there's fundamental changes where, if VoiceStream didn't update anything, some functionality or features might break. And so, the apps do this all the time. You get a new iOS version, every time a new like iOS 16, 17, 18 comes out, and it's like, oh, I have like 300 updates because every app has to do like a major update to fix something that the new version of iOS either broke or added so that the new version of the app can take advantage of it or work again. So yeah, I mean, again, especially if you're a small developer, you gotta eat, you gotta feed your family, you gotta pay your bills, you gotta do all that stuff, pay your workers. So I get it, and I understand, that when you look at it, you do get a little bit of a sticker shock. I know I did. What is it? So it's $80 a year if you are a new subscriber, but it is $60 per year if you are an existing Voice Dream user and you choose to continue using the app under the subscription pricing. So you do get a $20 discount per year, which is good. They're offering a discount. That's appreciated. Could the subscription prices be a little lower? Maybe. I recognize that a lot of people are on a low income, and I'm not going to say fixed income because I know people always use fixed income for things like Social Security and things like that. Well, I have a fixed income too. It happens to be a salary. Granted, it's a higher income than something like SSI, but it's still a fixed income. So, um, low income, I get that. A lot of people are on that level, and I've been there before. I've been a broke college student. I've been a very, very broke individual who graduated college and was looking for work for 3.5 years. Again, see my growing up illegally cited playlist for that story. But I've been there. But when you look at it, you want to make sure, like with all the functionality that the app already has, and you want to maintain it, you want to make sure it's continually being fixed if something breaks, and you want to add new features. You want to, keep developing it. For what it does. Again, I've said this for years. I think the race to the bottom, pricing wise, of mobile apps, Android or iPhone, has really messed up the industry something fierce because you can't, whether it's blindness or not, you can damn near barely sell an app in the App Store anymore. You can't even charge like $5 for an app and people get pissed these days. Oh, you mean I actually have to pay for something I want to use? God forbid. It's got to be free, and then it's got to have either microtransactions or adpocalypse. You got 100 ads floating everywhere or popping up all the time. Um, I don't know. I I think a lot of apps and games on mobile app stores are very undervalued. People could easily, like developers, I think, could easily charge, even 3, 5, $10 for some. I mean, with all the features and like, look at what we paid. Remember when we paid $100 for KNFB Reader in like what 2015, somewhere whenever that came out? When KNFB Reader came out, people were dropping $100. Like people complained about it, but like this is revolutionary. We never had an app like that. And for all the features and functionality and how many things Voice Dream Reader can read and do, whether it's reading books or files, reading from the camera, making inaccessible PDF files readable again, any upcoming features, possibly Kindle support. That'd be awesome. Like to me, that is absolutely. I mean, I've been using this app for over 10 years, and I've maybe put $20 into it over the years. Like there was a time when he rewrote it where they Winston charged an extra $5 or something for it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll gladly pay that for the upgraded version. So really what I'm saying is you have to just ask yourself, I mean, if you're not a heavy reader and you don't have to read a lot, it maybe won't be worth it to you, and that's fine. There are free alternatives if you just want to read Bookshare books and that's all you ever use it for. You can read it with Bookshare Reader. You can read it with Easy Reader. There's a few other ones out there that you can use. If you read things in Google Docs or Pages or whatever. You can read things in those apps. You can use things like Seeing AI or even VoiceStream Scanner standalone, and you can, just scan and read things. Now, granted, you're going to have to copy and paste the text into something else if you want to keep it, but you can do that. So I'm not saying that everybody should switch to the subscription. I'm not saying that everyone should just automatically jump in and pay the monthly or yearly subscription price for VoiceStream Reader. But don't just dismiss it because they're switching to that pricing model. Really think, I mean, again, if it's something that you value, is it something that you use regularly? I mean, I can tell people when I work my day job and I meet with students for evals. Um, I'm not even a student, and I use VoiceStream Reader all the time. I've got loads of folders. I've got literally a few hundred books and files in magazines in VoiceStream. So for me, it's very, very well worth it. Um, it's my one stop, really convenient, powerful, and accessible a reading app. It's voiceover accessible. It's self-voicing for reading anything I want. It does some audio. It's great. So again, I really encourage people to, again, look at what you value, whether it's a game or an app or a device. Yeah, God forbid, I know we feel, a lot of blind people feel entitled because we get everything either paid for through school, or then we graduate and we get everything paid for through VR, through vocational rehab. Um, and then God forbid we get to a point where like, oh, well, now I'm working and wait, I have to pay for something myself? I mean, that's what everybody else has to do. That's what we do. We work and we get a paycheck and we use said money to pay for things that we need and want. And sometimes we can't afford all of these things at the same time, like immediately. I know we're instant gratification. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I see something cool. Oh, I want that now, but I might have to wait until I save up some money. Um, so, uh, I don't want people just immediately dismiss the subscription just because it is a subscription and just because you have to pay. Like I said, maybe could they lower it a little bit? Yeah, maybe, hopefully. Maybe they'll have some. I could imagine around maybe you wait till the holidays. Maybe they'll have like a 30% off or 50% off sale. Maybe you get the yearly subscription for $40 if you're a new user. I mean, I could see that happening. Or maybe they'll do like a summer conference special, the NFB, ACB conventions. Maybe they'll do a little. So again, there are ways around it. There are potential, possibilities. But the thing that really, really disappoints me and disgusts me is just the whole blindness attitude that I see on social media, that I see on forums like AppleViz. And, it's totally fair. Like, I can disagree with the company. I can disagree with their pricing. I can disagree with their subscription. But if I'm going to give feedback about it, I'm going to do it constructively. I can be mad about it, but I don't, I can't be rude about it if I'm trying to give constructive feedback. Like I can rationally talk through it like I am in this video. And that's the way I would talk about it with friends or students, our customers, our clients, friends, family, whatever. Um, but I'm seeing like, I've heard this happen a lot in gaming where some group of people, some group of gamers will get all of their panties in a bunch about, oh, there's this game and they're doing something really dumb, and then they review bomb it, and they, 1 star a game, and then so it's got a hugely negative review rating in Steam or the Microsoft Store or whatever. And then they buy it anyway, or they just review bomb it for, sometime. I mean, yeah, if something is really really broken, yeah, then just don't buy it. That's the thing, is if it doesn't work, don't buy it. Or if you don't need it, don't buy it. That's fine. Um, but there's this whole thing of people like, oh well, I saw this thread where people are like, yo, everyone should go to the App Store and rate this as 1 star because this is unacceptable. I went into the App Store and I still rated it just today. I rated it 5 stars because you know what? The functionality, they just literally updated. I got an update for the app with some fixes and features earlier this week. They're updating it regularly. They're communicating. They've got pretty detailed bullet pointed feature upgrade. Like when they do an update, they're become a little bit better now about um, letting us know what they did. And the app still works for me very, very well. So functionality wise, yeah, it does what I need it to do. So why wouldn't I rate it highly? Now I can still write to them. I can still give them feedback. I can still give them ideas. I can say, hey, I don't agree with your pricing thing on this. Could you maybe look at lowering the price for this? Or could you maybe look at um, any number of things. People are also complaining that, well, with this new subscription model, I don't have a Mac, and so now I'm paying the higher subscription price for a device I don't use. Well, you're kind of getting I mean, if you pay for a Microsoft Office subscription, you can get access to, you can put Office, like let's say you get a family Microsoft Office license. You can put it on 5 devices. That doesn't matter if it's Windows, Android, iOS, Mac. If you have all of those devices, if you have one of each, I could put Microsoft Office on my phone, on my Windows computer, on my work Mac, on an Android phone for testing. I could do that. But if I don't have those devices, I mean, that's not an accessibility thing. That's not a blindness thing. That's an everybody thing. You can put it on. I mean, let's say you're paying the VoiceStream subscription. You don't have a Mac, but you have 3 iOS devices. Maybe you've got a work device, you've got a personal device, and then you've got a tablet. That's me. I've got a work iPhone that's issued through my business or through my employer. I've got my personal phone, and I've got an iPad that I use. And I can put it on all of them. So even though you're not using a Mac, you're still putting it on multiple devices. You get a new device, you don't have to pay extra for that new device. So I don't know, people are so whiny and entitled, and like I said, I feel bad for not just VoiceStream, but I feel bad for so many small developers. And like, as I've said many many times, countless times on the channel in the past, it's one of those things where that's why we've lost so many great apps, and especially so many great audio games and accessible games over the years in the App Store. Because these are often, 1 person, 2 people operations or something, and they mean well when they start out. They think, oh, this is going to be great. And then they find out that no one wants to pay for anything. They pirate it, or they ask for codes, or, they just don't end up buying the app or supporting it financially, whether it's an in-app purchase or something. And then they maybe want to make a future game, or they want to continue, supporting their existing game, but then they find out that they can't. And so the company goes under, or the person just stops developing, and boom, the app is pulled, the app is gone. And then people get mad about that. So, I mean, like I said, I don't expect everybody to go run out and, subscribe to the new VoiceStream reader. If you don't read that much and you don't use all of its features, no, there are other alternatives that can do some of what VoiceStream does. But if it is something that you use and that, maybe a lot of its features, think about supporting them, because again, this is not just one person anymore. This is a company now. This Applause Group, I don't know much about them beyond like that they're doing voice stream now. But if they're a company that helps and that develops many apps, this is a company and they're looking at staying financially ahead of the game. They're looking at, at least breaking even, if not making a little bit of money on something that they're going to develop. So, if everybody just flat out says, no, we're not buying this anymore, then, one of a couple things will happen. They'll say, they might look at it and go, oh, okay, well, now maybe we'll try to lower the subscription or something and get people back in. Or they might just be more lax and not update the app as often. They may not devote as much attention to it because there's apps that people are paying for that they'll get more attention because they have the means to do so. And eventually they could decide, just like remember the Papa Sangre or the something else games, they were part of a company that did other stuff besides those, and they just said, well, that department for these blind people games, we're just not making any money in it, so we are going to shutter that and we are going to concentrate on the other stuff. And, if we don't support development of VoiceStream, then that could happen eventually to us. And then the lifetime access will literally be up because the app will no longer be alive again. So I going forward, I am going to support the app because it's still useful to me. I am going to pay the subscription, and I'm going to give the developer the benefit of the doubt because I want to keep that going. I'm very curious to see the Kindle stuff when it comes out. Now, that being said, a year from now or whatever, or 2 years from now, if it gets really buggy, if they stop supporting it, or they do something like functionality-wise where it crashes all the time or something, yeah, it's fully within my right to be like, you know what? I'm not going to subscribe anymore. I'm going to stop my subscription and use something else. Now, I would be very sad about that because I have a lot of my files and stuff invested into VoiceStream Reader right now, and I would have to really rethink of where I'm gonna put all this crap and put all this stuff, so I have access to it. But yeah, if they really screwed up the app or broke things or made it unstable or whatever, then yeah, I would consider not subscribing. But for now, they're supporting it great, and I'm gonna support them. And if you find value in it, I would encourage you to consider it as well. And like I said, maybe you wait for summer convention season. Maybe you wait for holiday season, because maybe they'll have. I'm not saying that they will, but it wouldn't be. I know Winston always used to offer discounts, so maybe they will too. Get into it when you can save a little bit of money. But there you go. That is my take on this whole VoiceStream Reader controversy, shall we say. Yeah, I could go on and on about it, and I could have ranted a lot more on a few different topics or, areas of this, but that's where we're going to leave it for now. That's the major thing that I really wanted to talk about. I know in my last month update, I talked a little bit about CSUN. I learned a few more things since I did that last video. I did have a coworker of mine who actually, funny thing is, I didn't even realize he went to CSUN until we had a meeting the other day. And I asked if anyone had heard anything about CSUN. He's like, oh yeah, I was there. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, we've got a couple Braille displays. We've got the HIMS, the emotion display, which kind of seems very comparable to something like the Focus 40 5th Gen or the Brilliant or the Mantis. It's a Perkins style keyboard, 40 cell display, pairs with 5 devices and USB, and it's got basic features in it. Your basic notepad editor, you can read files with it. I have not seen one yet. I've actually had people through work ask me about it already. Um, but I think it's going to be, comparable to, what they used to do for the Braille Edge or any of the displays that I just talked about. Um, they have the Orbit displays. They have a QWERTY model. So if you like the Mantis, but you want something a little bit cheaper, you had the Orbit 20, the Orbit 40 before with the Perkins display or the Perkins keyboard. Now you have a QWERTY keyboard model, 20 cell and a 40 cell. So again, I like what they're doing. I like what Orbit is doing because they're trying to bring down the prices of these displays at least somewhat so people can afford them better. I very much appreciate that. So there was a lot of Braille things happening. Of course, I can't remember what it's called, but they have like basically the updated like Braille and Speak kind of a thingy. Um, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Blazy something or other because Dean Blazy's behind it. And I would be curious to check one out or to play with one, but it's not something that I personally think that I would use really that much. I mean, I used a Braille and Speak in high school for a few years. And it was ahead of, back when laptops were $3,000-$4,000 easy. Yeah, the Braille and Speak was actually pretty cool. Um, but I mean, as a basic note takery thing, as a supplement to a laptop or something, especially with the cheaper prices of them, could be decent. Um, Again, Orbit's got a speech only thing. If you don't want to have a refreshable Braille display, they've got like the Orbit Writer, and then they've got this um, kind of Braille and Speak type device. I can't remember the names of all of them, but so it's interesting some of the competition that's happening in the Braille stuff. One thing that my coworker did say is that there's all kinds of these companies, especially like Chinese companies, making like, I guess I'll say knockoff products, but like competitors to your traditional assistive technology companies that we're familiar with, like your Humanware and your Freedom Scientific and Vispero and all that stuff. Um, but there's a lot of like, these Chinese CCTVs. They're very similar in functionality, but they might be cheaper or something. And I will say, like, I would love to cover more assistive technology on the channel. And theoretically, I could because I have access to a lot of this stuff through work. But I typically, unless it's something I bought myself or a company has contacted me directly, which has happened once or twice, I feel there's a conflict of interest and I don't want to get myself in any hot water. If I'm taking things home from work and then covering them on my personal YouTube channel, let's say eventually that I do monetize my channel or monetize videos, I'm using work stuff for personal gain outside of work, and that's really a no-no. That's really messy, and just I don't want to be wrapped up in anything like that, because especially since this channel focuses on similar types of things that I do to my day job, I just don't want to open any can of worms and be like, okay, I'm borrowing stuff from work, throwing together a video and showing you guys. Like, I would love to be able to do that, but for legal and ethical and other reasons, I can't really let myself do that. I mean, I can talk about things, that's fine. I can talk about different devices, but I won't grab a device and do like a hardware review demonstration for it necessarily. The e-reader I covered because I didn't get that through work. I did it as a personal Bard subscriber. When I did the Vision Buddy, the company contacted me directly a few years ago, and I worked with them outside of work. Work had nothing to do with it, so I was fine. If I bought like my Ruby and my Merlin, those things I owned myself, so that I could cover those. But so what I will say is, if you are in the market for a tablet-sized CCTV that has a lot of really cool functionality in it, that's pretty dang lightweight, I would really look at the Cloverbook models. The Cloverbook and the Cloverbook Pro. But they have, it's kind of like Freedom Scientific. They have like the Clover 5, the Clover 8. Those are handheld devices. The Clover 6. They're more affordable, and they're really good quality. And the Cloverbook Pro, what I like about it is it's a tablet-sized CCTV that folds up into its own stand. It's a self-contained unit, but it does near and it does distance viewing. The distance camera, like a lot of these distance things, they're either big and bulky, or you have to plug in a separate cord, or you're connecting a camera to a computer, and then you have to worry about updates and drivers and admin access. And I used to really like the computer CCTVs, like the LVI Student, and I think they're great devices. But it's like if I go to a class or a meeting and I hook the thing up, and oh, well, now I got a Windows update, or oh, there's a software update for the CCTV, and then I got to fiddle with all that, and before I can even use the thing. Whereas something like the Cloverbook Pro, I flip it open, I turn it on, boom, and I go. I magnify, and I'm good. But the Cloverbook Pro is actually a really nice display, or not a display. It's a really nice CCTV. The distance camera is built right into the stand. It folds up from the back right side of the device. It's like a little stick thingy, and then you can actually, on the top of the little stick, you can turn the top of it where the camera is, and so you can point it at the front of the room. You can swivel it left and right a little bit, and you can even do split view. So if you want to have your notes on the left side and the board on the right side, or if you want to have your notes at the bottom and the the whiteboard at the front of the room at the top, you can do a full screen either way, or you can do split screen. It's just a really, really nice device. So that is one that I would recommend exploring if you're interested in that kind of a thing. Again, I don't own one, and I don't want to use the work ones because I don't want to get in trouble in the future. If my big CCTV, my Merlin that I have over here in the corner, if that thing ever dies and I need to get rid of it, I would consider getting a device like the Cloverbook Pro, because it has the desktop style functionality, but it's foldable. You can hide it out of the way. You can take it places. It's very light. It's cool. So yeah, I mean, CSUN, they're talking about AI stuff. They had CCTVs. They had some Braille devices. The other thing that they really focused on was a lot of these alternative, like smart canes or mobility devices like this. I don't know. I can't really speak to them because I've never seen any of them in person or played with them. I did see the earlier version of the WeWalk cane, and that thing is heavy for what it is. And to me, it almost seems more of a gimmick, and a rather heavy one at that, than just using a cane. You got to think a lot of these are like, a lot of these devices too, maybe you can't use them in the rain or the snow. Well, where I live, that kind of puts the kibosh on that a lot of the time. So, and if, you buy a cane for $40 and then you buy one of these other mobility aids for hundreds or thousands of bucks, is, is the average user going to be able to afford it? You think voice stream $80 a year is expensive? Buying one of these things, people aren't going to be able to afford that. And are VR agencies maybe are they going to support? Are they going to buy these things for people? Only time will tell. I don't know. I guess it depends, how much of it is really, really useful for somebody or how much of it is kind of a gimmick. But, I'm interested to see them. I'm interested to see what they do and what they can offer. But that's another area that, like AI, Braille, of course, your more CCTVs, your software updates, your JAWS, your Fusion, your Zoom text updates. They talk about those things. But that's really what that's really what they had. I haven't heard anything, and then the mobility stuff. So I think I've babbled on long enough here. But I hope this video was helpful to people. I hope it gave some of you some perspective on this whole voice stream situation, where it's not just a bunch of people yelling and complaining and flame warring. Because man, you look at some of those AppleVis threads, and there's just people insulting each other and bad grammar and just being mean to each other and being mean to the developers. And I want no part of this behavior. Stop it, people. Grow up. But yeah, it's an interesting time. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with the summer conventions. We have Be My Eyes theoretically coming to Windows. Actually, I think I heard an interview on another podcast. They don't want to promise anything, but they're estimating like maybe a May type of release for the Windows version of Be My Eyes. That would be very exciting, and if it is, I'll look at that for sure on the channel. But yeah, that's what's going on. Busy month per usual. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give the video a like if you did. Share it with others. I hope it helps. You can follow me on Twitter /X at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.